I would have totally forgot because I'm like diving in. Let's do this. Thank you, Nicole. Was that Nicole? Thank you so much. Okay, we are now recording. So today we are going to talk about simple systems to create and build leaders on your team. And I'm going to give you guys exactly what I do to my entire system to build leaders and to build up those relationships with my coaches, have deeper relationships, help them reach their goals, help them push beyond fear, doubt, hesitations, all that good stuff. But before I start, I want to explain to you why I'm training on this, why I'm teaching you guys this. For me, in 2014, I helped one coach go diamond. And you need two to go elite. I'm a 4-time elite coach. The 2 coaches that went diamond that year, one of them was my second business center. So basically I had helped one person go diamond. To some, that might be awesome. To me, I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. What am I doing wrong? How can I help more people? I want to help, by that year, 2014, I had been a coach for 3 years already. There are coaches in this network that build 15 new diamonds on their team in their first 2 years. And here I am year 3 and I can't even help one. To go a little bit further than that, in 2012, I actually was in my 6-week qualification for 5-star diamond. And on my 6th week, on the very last day, the 7th day of the 6-week qualification, I lost 5-star. It took me a whole nother year to get back to 5-star. And then it took me a whole nother 2 years to get to 7-star. And in 2014, I had told you I had helped one person go diamond. In 2015, I had 15 new personally sponsored diamond coaches. We're now in 2016 and I have 12 new personally sponsored diamond coaches. So what changed? And that's what I want to share with you guys today. I want to share with you the simple systems that I didn't have in place before that totally transformed my business, totally transformed my relationships with my coaches, to have those deeper connections, and just to have a system. Now, when I'm going through all this, it's a lot of information. So what I want you guys to do is at the end of this training, I want you to go back through and take one thing, just one thing. Don't get overwhelmed by all the information I give you. Take one thing and implement that. Because what you have to realize is what I'm teaching you is stuff that took me 5.5 years. I've been a coach for 5.5 years to solidify. I'm not going to give you a ton of motivation this week. I really just want to dive in and give you guys the training action items, but it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of information here. So don't get overwhelmed by it. Take notes. I'll open it up at the end to ask questions, and then I want you guys to turn around and take action on one thing. Once you master that one thing that you take action on, I want you to take action on another thing. And here's the thing. I'm going to teach you my system. You might not want to use exactly my system, but it might give you that idea of something that's going to work better for you and your team. So take the pieces that make sense for you and the ones that don't, that's okay. We all build this business with the same vital behaviors, but we all do things just a little bit differently. There's no 2 coaches that have the same exact business. There are no 2 coaches that do the exact same thing. So it's okay if you are like, I can't do that, or that doesn't work for me. Find what does work for you. But I'm going to share with you what works for me. So first step, I'm going to start from the very beginning, as I get on the phone, and Carl's been really big on telling you guys, get on the phone. I've gotten on the phone from day 1. And so when I am signing up a new coach, I schedule the call to walk them through the coach sign up. I know that seems basic. Why would someone call them and walk them through the coach sign up? Because immediately when they sign up, what does a coach do? Fear, doubt, hesitation, all set in. As soon as they hit that, like, congratulations, you're a coach. They're like, okay, I did it, but now I'm really scared. So when I have them on the phone right away, I can welcome them to the team. I can congratulate them. I can tell them the next steps. So I've already communicated, even before we've gotten on the phone to sign them up, what the next steps are going to be. And for me, when a coach signs up, the first 2 things that I send them are, 1, an about you email so that I can get to know them better. I ask them their fears and hesitations. I ask them how many hours they want to devote to their business. I ask them if they just want to earn a couple hundred, or if they want to go all in and leave their full-time job. Like, what is their vision for their life? So I ask them a list of questions. And then once they answer all of those. I send them a second email. It's the new coach getting started email. And for me, the first step 1, is that they complete a 7-day new coach training. I have the 7-day new coach training on my website. My team and I created that. And really what I did was I had created so many videos on YouTube, but nobody could find them. They were kind of all over the place. So I just put them together in a 7-day format. And if you guys want, your team probably has something for your new coaches, use that. You don't have to recreate the wheel. For me, I didn't have anything. I didn't have an upline coach that was giving me information or training me or giving me tools and resources like you all have. So don't recreate the wheel on this. But I had to recreate the wheel because I had nothing there was nothing for me. So the 7-day new coach training, once they finish that, in that same email, it has the business quick start guide, it has their business activity checker, and then it has my Acuity scheduling link so that they can go in and schedule a new coach call with me. Now, the thing with Acuity scheduling, I'm going to teach you guys one of my biggest tips and something that took me like 5 years to figure out. I'm sure some of you have made this, I'll call it a mistake because it was a mistake for me. I would get on the phone with new coaches and I would talk with them for an hour. Before they ever did training, I would get on the phone, talk with them for an hour. We'd have incredible conversations about where they wanted to go. And next week, they were gone. Has anyone experienced that? Okay, I'm seeing hands and people smiling. Yes, okay. So the next week they're gone and you're like, I just spent an hour of my time and they're not even plugging in. They didn't even show me that they wanted this beyond signing up, right? And that's frustrating. And so for me, when I have a frustration in this business, I look at what can I change? What can I do differently so that I'm a better leader so that I don't get frustrated? Because I don't like being frustrated. I don't like that energy. I don't want it in my business. So what I started doing with my Acuity scheduling was I created the new coach getting started right calls to be 15 minutes. Now there's a little tip to this. When you go in, Acuity scheduling is free. If you use it or don't use it, there is a paid version. I use the free version. I'm frugal. Even this Zoom is free. I don't pay for it because it cuts me off after 40 minutes. I can't go very long. So it keeps me on track. It keeps me to a schedule. But I use the free Acuity scheduling link. When they go in, they're scheduling that call and they see that it's going to be 15 minutes. On my end, it blocks out 30 minutes in my calendar. Now, the reason I do this is because some new coaches, I can get through all the information in 15 minutes and they know that the call is going to be wrapping up. They feel like they've been heard, they've had my time, and we're not wasting time. They come and they're ready to work, they're ready to talk, we're ready to get down to business. However, if the call's going really well and they have lots of questions, I have 30 minutes scheduled out so that it can go over. And when it does go over, they're like, oh my gosh, she gave me more of her time. That was so generous of her. And it really is about setting expectations with your coaches. And so when they schedule that call and they see that 15 minutes, they've set that expectation that we're getting everything done in 15 minutes. We're going to be efficient with our times. And we're all busy. Our new coaches are busy. So we want them creating something that's duplicatable for them. If I had to do 1 hour new coach getting started calls with everybody I signed up, is that duplicatable for your team? No. And so you always want to be thinking, is what I'm doing right now duplicatable for a team of 10,000? I don't care if you have 2 coaches on your team, if you have 12 coaches, if you have 20, is what you're doing duplicatable for a team of 10,000? Christine Dwyer said that when I was a new coach, I think on a national wake-up call or some training I was watching, and I immediately realized, oh my goodness, I'm spending an hour every single day on a new coach getting started call. This is not duplicatable. Who would want to do that? I'm telling my coaches that they have to do that, and they're immediately going, I can't build this business because I don't have an hour to spend with my new coaches every time I sign someone up, right? Okay, so once they finish the new coach getting started right, we're talking, I give them the next steps. I'm always taking them into another process so that they know what's coming next. So they're not just sitting there going, okay, but what do I do next? I have no direction. So the next steps for me is we do a 21-day new coach training as a team. I'm sure, again, that your team has something that's already set up. Make sure you're utilizing it. But what we did this year is we actually changed our training system. Now we do a 21-day, but it's live. So all of the top leaders on our team go live every single day, one leader, sorry, so there's 21 leaders leading it. And the day that that leader goes live, that leader is responsible for answering all the questions, commenting on all the comments, and building the relationships with all of the coaches that are commenting, because it's a team-wide training, right? So one of the biggest questions I have is, okay, but how are you building the relationships with your personally sponsored coaches if you're only going live one day and checking all the questions and comments that one day, right? What time do you go live? It doesn't matter. The coach that is leading that day decides what time they go live. So we have a little sign-up sheet for all of our leaders. Great question, Diane. We have a sign-up sheet for all of our leaders. They all sign up for the topic because it's done by topic, and they sign up for the topic and time that they're going to go live, and we put the schedule out for the new coaches so they know what time everyone's going live. And I ask them at the beginning to comment before we start their schedule. I want a copy of their schedule of, are they listening to it live that day? Are they listening to the recording? If they're listening to the recording, when are they listening to it? Each live video has a call to action. Can I share those 21 topics? I sure can. Remind me, Shannon, at the end when I'm done, and I'll copy and paste them into the chat for you. So after we go live, there's a call to action. So what I do is I have a group message with my 10 or 15 new coaches that are in that group. And I tell them from the beginning, I want you guys checking into this group message every day with your call to action. That way I can give feedback. And what that helps me do is when I'm reading through their calls to action, sometimes coaches misunderstand like what that action item was for them. They try to do something else that isn't what was asked, which is okay. They're new. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out the lingo. They really need our help and support. So in that group message, maybe one of the days is inviting, and they all were still struggling to go out there and invite. So I sent them an example script, and I said, here's an example for you. Read through it, put it in your own words, and here's something that you guys can go off of. So what that helps me do is it helps me course correct. When they get stuck on something, I can answer that question and get them back on track. It also helps me to continue to build that relationship and to see themes throughout the week. If they're struggling with something, I'm going to talk about it in that group message. And now I'm talking to the 10 or 15 new coaches, not just individually talking to one of them in a comment stream where only one of them reads it. Right? But it also helps them stay on track because every day they get a notification that they received a message. There's always someone checking into the group message. It's easy to ignore a group. It's not easy to ignore a message. Does that make sense? Thumbs up. Does everyone get that? Cool. Okay. So here's the next part. And this next part is what changed my business. The live training really changed my business because as leaders, the new coaches were able to build relationships, not just with me as a leader, but with all of the leaders on our team. And so they were able to connect. Maybe they connect with a part of my story, but they're thinking, okay, but Christy doesn't have kids, so I don't know if I can really do this. And then they see Tracy come on. She's a mom, and she's a physician's assistant. She works full time. She's a busy mom, and she's building this business, and she's a top coach on our team. And she was elite last year in her first year of being a coach. And so you see all that and you're like, oh, okay, so my excuse is out the window, right? So they can connect with the different leaders. So that is one of my favorite things about how we changed our training. Even if you were to take 7 coaches that you know that you work with and you were all to do a 7-day training and go live once a month, it's one day out of the month and they build better relationships with you. And they're actually, what I found is when we did recorded trainings, our recordings became out of date because what should we be doing as coaches? We should be growing every single day, every single week, every single month. And if we're not growing, then we're not able to turn around and help our teams grow. And so as we're growing, if we're just giving them a recording all the time of a training, they're missing out on some of the live stuff where you can share your heart, your passion, and the new things that you're learning. So I want to bring my team along with me in the growth, in my own growth, right? I want us all to grow together. So going live really helps that. So the coaches in the message stream that actually finished. Now, do you guys notice I don't pull my coaches along? They have to do that initial training. They have to schedule the call. And I tell them from the beginning, I'm not going to pull you along. I will be here to help you. I will be here to support you. I will be your biggest fan and your biggest supporter, but you have to show up and do the work. And if you don't show up, I'm not going to run after you. This isn't high school. I'm not your mom. I don't want to be your manager. I don't want to go into management mode. I want to lead you to help you grow in to become an incredible leader. I can't do that if I'm pulling you along. So in each step of this process, I'm taking them to the next thing, right? The training. I tell them about the training. I tell them how to join. They have to actually go and join the group. I don't add them because they're big boys and girls, and I want them to join the group and take responsibility and take action. So the ones that finish the group, and this is the big game changer for me, are then invited to a mastermind Zoom. So every week, I do a mastermind Zoom. And when I first started these, I had a question yesterday. Did you reach out to your entire downline? And I did. I didn't have as many builders as I do now. So I reached out to anyone. They didn't have to be personally sponsored. Anybody that was building this business, that had a Success Club point, that was showing up, I invited them to the weekly mastermind. Now it is only my personally sponsored coaches and those coaches on the team that reach out to me and ask to join. Because if they ask to join, they've watched all my training videos and they know that I have a mastermind Zoom that they could be a part of. Very few of them do. But my personally sponsored coaches, every week we get on and we go through a topic. Now, when I started these, I didn't know what I was doing. There weren't other coaches out there doing them. I didn't know what to expect. But what I knew was I can't figure out their struggles and help them overcome those if I'm not talking to them consistently. And I can't do that one-on-one with all of them. And one-on-one isn't duplicatable for me to do with a team of 10,000. So what I did when I first started the group is I got this book, 6 Months to Six Figures. It is one of my favorites because it's very action-oriented. And as you guys can tell, I'm not giving tons of like motivational pep talks here. I'm very action-oriented. And so I loved this book. We went through it, and I like audio, but I got the book because in this book, there's so many action items that you just have to stop and take notes the entire time, and you spend most of your time taking notes. So the book is better because it's right there for you. You can highlight, but also because, let's see, there's all these, see how I've written all over it? There's sections for you to write down like your goals, your vision, how to break things down, how to reverse engineer goals. So each week we would read a chapter or 2 or 3, and then we would go through those action items. Then I just make it up as I go. I have no idea what I'm doing in these mastermind Zooms. I just put something out there, people want it, I take action on it, figure it out later. So in these Zooms, the other thing that I started doing was every week we would go through how many people are they going to add to their network that week? How many people are they going to connect with that week? How many people are they going to invite? How many minutes of personal development are they going to do, or how many hours? So I let them decide their goals. I don't tell them what those goals are, but I'll also ask them at the beginning of the month, what are your goals for this month? What is your plan? What do you want to accomplish? At the end of the month, we can then look back, and if, say, their goal was Success Club 10, and they invited 100 people for the month, and they reached Success Club 5. What does that tell us? The next month, they need to invite, I saw some of you saying it, the next month, they need to invite 200 people to reach Success Club 10. So it's going to show me what type of execution they have to take action on our vital behaviors to actually reach their goals. So that was really important to me because I know that when I started as a coach, the business activity tracker said invite 2 to 5 people. And I was like, that's cool. Invite 2 to 5 people. I'm not reaching my goals inviting 2 to 5 people. Some of you can do that, and that's incredible, but that's not how it worked for me. Carl, this past week at Leadership, said he always had to do more than everybody else, like to reach success. And I don't remember what he was talking about, but I felt like that was me. I always had to do more. I wasn't that person that could invite 5 and reach my goals, but that's okay. I'm going to do it anyways because it doesn't matter. I can't compare myself to other people. I can only control me and the action that I'm taking. We can't always control our results. We can control our action. So I can take more action to get better results. So I wanted to instill that upon my team. So every week in these masterminds, I'll go through action items, goals, and then I'll do a little training. After a while, I got bored of training. myself. I was like, people are tired of hearing my voice. They probably aren't listening to me anymore. So I started asking them every week to have one of them lead the training. So it could be on something that they were doing well in their business, that they're just rocking. Maybe it's Instagram and connecting with people on Instagram, or maybe they're really good at the Facebook like page, or maybe they are really great at recruiting or challenge groups or whatever it is, whatever their strong suit is. I wanted them to train on that, because a lot of times coaches start to think, well, I'm not good enough. I don't know what I'm doing. But the one thing that they do is the one thing all of us are like, tell us how you do that, because I want to know. So my mastermind calls are 40 minutes because Zoom cuts off in 40 minutes and I don't pay for it. So it gets cut off. And the reason I did that is because if I paid for it, they would go on forever. And I always am like, I'm that superstar diamond coach that doesn't pay for Zoom. I'm so frugal. But it really is because it cuts me off and I can't go on any longer. So then I started having them train each week. And if they didn't feel like they had a strong suit yet that they could train on, I said, what do you want to get better at? What do you want to master? Go find all the personal development, all the training you can on that one thing and bring it back and train us on it. And so, then each week they're training and I'm sitting here taking notes and learning from them. So the students become the teachers, but it's now, excuse me, I keep burping Shakeology. So it's now teaching them, it's empowering them to go out and lead their teams because they believe in themselves as leaders. Okay. I will open it up for questions because after the masterminds, we have additional training and things, but those masterminds are really what changed my business. Okay, how do I keep the live videos organized? Is it in the team page or a separate group and starts fresh every month? Yes, so it starts fresh every month. It's in a separate group. I put up an event. In my team page that it's going to start. And it has like all the information to join. And then I'll go and I'll post in that event so that it pops up so more and more coaches are seeing it. I personally invite my personally sponsored coaches to join, but I want to make sure that the entire team knows about it. It's in a separate page or a separate group. What was the other part of the question? And starts fresh every month. How long are my masterminds? 40 minutes. Do you combine all your coaches from previous months, or do you have different masterminds for every group that starts new? Now, that's a great question. So you would think, well, how is this duplicatable? She has a large team. I have 4 masterminds. They're each 40 minutes. I do 2 on Tuesday and 2 on Wednesday. I could even break it up where I did 1 a day. And I just added a new one because I needed it. So for the first year and a half, 2 years, I only had 3. And I capped them typically at 10. So what I've started doing is after a couple months, if the coaches, there are a couple of rules and guidelines for these masterminds. Number 1, if they don't have Success Club 1, they're out after a couple months. Because if they are not helping at least one person a month, they don't need to be in these masterminds growing anymore. They need to be focused on their vital behaviors and figuring those out because that's holding the entire group back. Number 2, next guideline I have to think. I put them all out there as expectations and then I forget. Success Club 1. Oh, they have to join for the quarter. They can't miss more than 1 a month. If they miss 3 Zooms in a quarter, they're out. I make it a point to be there and give my time, and it's not for me, it's for them. And so if they're not going to show up, somebody else out there will. Somebody else out there is waiting and hoping that they can have an opportunity like that. So the next question is, when I have these newer coaches, I do put them in with more experienced coaches. And here's why. Because we're sharing goals. We're sharing vision. Sometimes if I see that they're so focused on their goals and their plan that they're losing their vision, we'll just do a training on vision and we'll have them all go around and share their vision. And my goal is to make them cry, right? A why that makes you cry. So I'm like, guys, today's all about vision. I'm going to make you cry today. Let's do it. And they know they're going to get emotional. And that's what I want, because I want to connect them back to that vision so they're not so focused on their goals that they're losing sight of that vision. And so with a new coach, I've had new coaches come in, they raise the bar faster, because one of my brand new coaches, well, she's not new anymore, but she came in last year, and she came in with, there were, you know, when this group started, it was all emeralds, and they're all now diamonds with a couple emeralds, and she joins, she's brand new, and we're going around and we're talking about goals, and she would have lowered her standards and her goals. But when she heard everybody else's goals were bigger, she raised her standards. We are who we surround ourselves with. I want my new coaches being surrounded with people who are going big. And so it actually works out, because when I came to her and I asked her goals, I never asked the new coach to share their goals first. I always have them go like in the middle or towards the end. And when she shared her goals were high, and she hit every single one of them. And she earned Success Club in her business, Success Club 10 and Success Club 5 in her husband's business most every single month. She works 70 hours a week, and this business is done on the side, but it helped elevate her standards. Next question. What time do you schedule them? Do you let the coach pick a time that fits their schedule of the 3 that you do? So it just depends on if I have them open. If I have an open spot, if the mastermind Zoom isn't too big, they can choose a time. If they're too big, I'll direct them to one time. It's so funny. For the most part, I sign mostly moms, and they will they'll make time to be there. Some of the coaches, though, I'll invite them, and they're like, no, I'm not ready for that. I'll let you know when I am. So that's something else you have to take into account. Not all of them are going to be ready for that. And I have my Acuity scheduling, and I tell them you can go in and you can schedule a one-on-one call, like if you need it, every other week, once a month. And again, those calls are just 15 minutes. You would think with a team of thousands that everybody takes me up on that, but they don't. So I don't run out of time. People are like, how are you doing this all? It really is. It doesn't take that much time, but I'm building better relationships with my coaches and helping hold them accountable to their goals and what they're wanting to achieve. Does your new coach training group start at the same time each month? Yes, it's the first Wednesday of every month. So our next group starts next Wednesday. Besides my own challenge groups, is that what you mean? Besides from your own challenge groups, how do you find coaches willing to do the work? Great question, Diane. So for me, I talk a lot about the coach opportunity. The coach opportunity is what changed my life. I'm a little different. I joined for the coach opportunity. I didn't join for a challenge group. If you had invited me to a challenge group, I would have told you, no, thank you. You're crazy. I work out enough. I was an Ironman triathlete when I started as a coach. So for those of you that don't know what that is, 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, 26.2 mile run, all in the same day. So I worked out a lot. I had no need for another workout. But I had overcome depression through fitness and nutrition. I was somebody who wanted to take my own life, and sometimes it's still hard for me to say that, but I had overcome that, and I wanted to be able to help others with fitness and nutrition, but I didn't want to be a personal trainer. I didn't want to work at the gym in the morning hours and in the evening. I was a financial advisor. I would just be at work all day. So I was actually looking for an avenue to help people that really fit with everything that I wanted. It needed to be flexible. It needed to pay the bills, because I wanted to get out of being a financial advisor. I wanted to get out of the financial industry. So thankfully, my coach didn't just invite me to a challenge group. She invited me to the coach opportunity. So because of that, I build my business a little bit differently because of the way I came into the business. I speak a lot about the coach opportunity because that is what changed my life. So I do attract a lot more people just for the coach opportunity, not necessarily to go through a challenge group. When they do get started, I do have them, get a fitness program in Shakeology and work through their goals so that they have experience with the programs so that they can fall in love with the programs. But I do oftentimes sign someone directly up to be a coach just because of the posts that I put out there. A lot of it is how this has changed my life financially and just having that freedom. What if that time conflicts with their work schedule? I haven't had that happen yet. One of the new Zooms that I just started, because I started a fourth one actually just starting this week, there is a conflict. Like a few of the people can't come. So I'm actually recording it. We have a group message for that mastermind. So even our action items that we have to do for that week, I give them homework assignments. They can check into that group message. They can watch the recording. Excuse me, it's tough because people's schedules always change. So sometimes I'll have coaches say, I can't make that time anymore. My calendar changed. Can I join this other one? And if I have availability, they can. If not, the recording's available and they can still connect with those, with their fellow masterminders in that group message. But honestly, guys, that's only happened twice, and I've been doing this for 2 years. A lot of times people are so worried about the schedule. How I started it was I went through my downline, because at the time I didn't have a bunch of builders. I went through my downline. Anyone that had a Success Club point or that I saw showing up was invited to the mastermind. It started with 30 people. I invited 30 people. And I asked them all for their schedules. The 30 people that said yes, asked them for their schedules. And I found 3 times that worked for all of them. There were 10 people in each group. I thought it was going to be much harder, and it really wasn't. So I think sometimes it's the start that stops you. Like people stop or like, oh, it's not going to work. But it really isn't as difficult as it seems. There was a time that worked for everybody. And so I chose those 3 times. We got on them. And of course, people fell off. After, a few months, I was down to maybe 5, 6, or 7 on each Zoom. But I ran with those people. And those people are the ones that you hear me saying, oh, I went from 1 new diamond coach to 15 new personally sponsored diamond coaches. Are you covering the 7-day training in your 21-day new coach training, sticking to the basics? No, the 7-day training that I have when they first sign up is on my website. You guys can get access to it if you want to go through and see what it is. It's christycurtis.com. You click coach training and it's the 7-day new coach training right at the top. So you can click it. You can go through and see what I do for that 7-day new coach training. But it is, we're reiterating a lot of it in the 21-day training, but they've been introduced to it. A lot of it's Success Club focused, focused on getting their website set up, things like that. But also I have a training. I like Excel. I have a training where I do Excel spreadsheet and explain like Success Club 5 and Success Club 10. If you hit it for 6 months, what that looks like income-wise, just the compound effect in your business. So I actually have like a whole Excel spreadsheet to share with them too. Because a lot of my coaches do join for the opportunity. I want them to see the value of Success Club. Let's see. Oh, the 21 topics for the training. Yes. Going on. Alana. Hi, Alana. So Alana's on here and she said, going on 2 years with our weekly Zoom, and I absolutely love it every week. 2 years, guys. And Alana is one of my diamond coaches, and she's a rock star, and she's very much built her business like me in the sense that her first couple years have been not super fast, not the people that you see out of the gates, and which is awesome that they are. They just have a lot of the leadership skills that I had to develop, and it took me longer to develop. So if that's you, if you're like, I'm trying to get this all into practice, and you're like, I'm not growing as fast as other people, it's okay. You have to believe in your ability to figure it out. I knew that I could figure it out. I just didn't know when I was going to figure it out. And I'm still figuring things out all the time. But let me get that 21 topics. Let's see. Does anyone, if you guys want to unmute yourself, because I can't read the chat right now, I can answer any other questions you have.
Christy, I have a quick question. So I currently do 2 trainings a month or a week. One where I'm like training on a topic, and then another one that's kind of the mastermind that you're talking about, like how many people are you adding, inviting, and such. Do you kind of combine those into 2?
So, okay, sorry. I was facing ask again. I'm sorry.
So I currently have 2 meetings a week. I have one that's a training for like anybody, and then one that's more of a mastermind, like how many are you adding, inviting, messaging, all that. Mm-hmm. Do you just combine those into one?
I do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Saved me an hour.
Yeah. Well, and it keeps it focused and efficient, and I know what we're going to talk about that week. And it really gives not just the training, but the action. Like this whole thing was training. And so I'm sorry I didn't give you a ton of motivation to like be pumped up and excited about, but I really want you guys to be able to take at least one thing and take action. Don't be overwhelmed by the whole system. I didn't put these systems all into place overnight. It was just like over time, all of a sudden I'd realize a need for something and I would start it. I started the mastermind Zooms. I didn't plan to keep doing them. I was just like, let's try this and see if it works. And oh, sorry. I'm sorry if I missed this, but how long do you go live with the 21-day training? No, we try to keep them 10 to 15 minutes. They're new coaches, and we want to give them everything that's in our head. We want to give them all the knowledge and training that we have, right? We want them to succeed in this business. But the thing is there's so much information that 5, 10, 15 minutes is enough for them to go and take action. You know, even a 40-minute training, they're not going to watch it. They're going to get tired. They're going to fall off. 10-minute training is doable. So we try to keep them to 10 to 15 minutes.
Christy, I have a question.
Yeah. Hi, Kristen.
Okay. So, my coaches, and I love them and I give them so much encouragement, pretty regularly. And I know their vision, their goals and all that kind of stuff. They've been through trainings. They're pretty hardcore about the trainings. But for me, my biggest problem is getting them the leap from, okay, you know, these products work, I love it, I'm excited, to actually inviting, because I can't get them to push past that fear. Like, right. That's the biggest thing.
So I got these little cards this weekend, The Speed of Trust. If you guys haven't read the book, I've read the book multiple times, but Stephen Covey was there and talked about it. And one of the things is you want to figure out, there's somewhere in here, kind of like what motivates your coaches. Because if you can figure out what motivates them, like what that ticker is for them, you can motivate them with different incentives, right? So what I do actually is I'll have them write out a list of 100 people. I know that's a lot. Some of them are like, I can't do it. And they get started and they have 100 people, right? And then I tell them, I want you to go for 100 no's. I want you to have 100 people say no. And I have diamond coaches that are like, Christy, I'm afraid of inviting. And they're afraid all of a sudden because they took breaks in their business. So that's really important that they don't take breaks once they start, right? Or because I do it. If I were to take a break, I get all worried, like, I don't know how to invite anymore. So I explain that to them. This is going to be scary. I would send a message and I'd get all sweaty and I'd run away from my computer. And then I would hope that they didn't respond. I would hope that they said no, because I didn't know what I was going to do if they said yes. I didn't know the next step. So I just explained that it is scary, but the only way to overcome that fear is to take action on it. So start small with the ones that are really terrified. Say, okay, for this week, I want you to invite 2 a day. Like, you tell them what to do. When they're so scared that they're not taking action, they need you to actually tell them at that point. So I'll say, this week, I'll say, is it okay if we make it a goal for you to invite 2 a day? Is that okay? Does that sound good? They're like, okay, I'll do it. And then the next week, when they send it in their business activity tracker, because on the group message, we have them send their business activity trackers every Thursday. So when they send it in, I'm like, oh my gosh, you did it. Congratulations. That's so awesome. How'd it go? So that I can already knock down any hesitations they have. And then I'll say, okay, this week, can we push for 3 a day? So I'm going to take those sometimes a little bit slower, but like one of my leaders, she was afraid. And I said, you just need a list of 100 and go invite 100, because when you invite 100, you're going to get over that fear. And she's like, okay. And she messaged me, I love you, Christy. I did it and I'm over it. It feels so awesome. I'm going to go invite now. So you kind of have to, your coaches. So which side of that spectrum is